big member of 757 Makerspace. It's in downtown Norfolk. It's like the most awesome shop. But I can't tell you the story of 757 Makerspace any better than Bo Turner can, so please welcome Bo.
Thanks, Kevin, for that. Really appreciate that. So as Kevin mentioned, my name is Bo Turner. How many people have heard of 757 Makerspace before today? All right, so a pretty good portion of the room here. So a little bit of history, and then we'll get into kind of how, why, and all this about the space and where things began at. Kevin's going to switch us over on the presentation side. Let's go through the
Oh, isn't it projected?
If it does, if not, don't worry about it.
All right.
We'll make it through. All right, so 757 Makerspace is a community workshop and prototyping center. There's kind of two sides to the business. So if I back up a little bit, we got started by pitching through Start Norfolk originally with Zach and the rest of the team through Hatch. And as a company, we were looking to solve this issue, right? I got two young boys. My oldest is now 11, my youngest is 7. And so 2 years ago, NASA Langley had this open house. Did anybody go out to that? No, all heads kind of shaking. Yes, we got one in the back. Okay, so we wandered out there. It's a Saturday morning, and there's this crusty engineer, right? He's standing there. He's like 60 plus, right? He's standing here like this, and he's so defensive. He's got a long white beard, not wizard long, but enough that he's seasoned and salted. And he's standing here. He's very unapproachable. Saturday morning, all these people in his workspace, a cup of coffee right over here nearby, and he's got a 3D printer right next to that. So my son is obviously loves the 3D printer, and he runs over to the 3D printer, and the guy is, there he is. He's the blocker, right? And the guy looks at Dylan, my oldest, and he goes, "You probably don't even know what a 3D printer is." And Dylan looked at him and he goes, "I got a 3D printer at home." And right then, it began this adversarial relationship right out of the gate. So, the guy looked at Dylan and he goes, "Well, we spent $1 billion and sent one to space." And Dylan goes, "Well, my dad spent $1,500 and it came in the mail." And again, we just keep doing this back and forth. And the guy goes, "Well, this and that." And so he takes this opportunity when it's very adversarial and he stops. Engineers are brilliant people because you take a moment like this and turn it into such a great learning opportunity. Looks at Dylan and he goes, "What did you learn?" That one simple phrase. And Dylan goes, "Oh, we laser cut these panels on the side and now it holds the heat in." And now all by Prince look great. Dylan, he designs and prints his own Lego parts and pieces and Minecraft stuff. So, he's probably a little more than the average kid with this. But right then, that resonated with that engineer, and he goes, "It's funny because we spent $1 billion to figure the same thing out. It's not about what direction you are in space, it's about controlling that heat." And they spent the next 20 minutes, they broke through every barrier they had, from language restrictions, age barriers, knowledge, every single thing that they had against them that was making this happen, and they used the common language of design to communicate for the next 20 minutes. One-on-one, ignored everybody around them. That's a pretty powerful moment. If you look at that, that's in one life, one kid, one moment, and opportunity. And we've got such a great brain trust in this area that I realize when you hear the school systems talk about STEM and STEAM, you hear all these different buzzwords, what really happens with that? It becomes a program that's coordinated, rigid, has to have all of these things. And really goes against the idea of what STEM and STEAM really is the ability to be able to explore, make, and create things, and influence your own self to find what's important to you. So that stuck with me and realized that we didn't really have anything like that inside of this area. How could we make something better? One, for kids, right? Everybody wants to support kids, but also, what happens when you go to college? There's 12 students each year, if you're at ODU, 12 students that get access to $2 million in equipment, and they get to use it, no one else can touch it. All of these departments, they don't communicate. They have their own, blocks just like this between each group. So if you're fortunate to be one of those 12, you get a short period where you have access to some really amazing stuff. As soon as you graduate, it all goes away. If you're fortunate enough to go and work for a firm that might have one of these machines, now you could use that one machine. You don't get to go back like you do with some of the gym equipment for an alumni. It's gone. So what happens is you get stuck in this design world or creation world, and someone else makes and creates it all. You just help design it. So you really lose that hands-on piece, whether you're a software person, a hardware person, or anything in between. And realize that once you graduate, there's got to be something out there for you. What about people that it's your second career, your third career? Or how about those $1 million ideas that you have every day? Anybody have those? Yeah, everybody has these, right? So my friend Jeff has, never seen, I got a few props and things come up here. My friend Jeff has this, we're walking along one day for lunch, and he picks up one of those little dental pins, the ones I'm talking about, that they got the little teeny piece of dental floss. And you poke it into your teeth, and everybody just throws them away. It's sitting on the ground. He's got this notebook of ideas. And he goes, "Oh man, I had that idea 14 years ago. He opens it up in a notebook, and sure enough, 14 years, 20 years of knowledge that he's been writing down ideas to be able to prototype, but he's never had the ability to take that first step to be able to get that kind of stuff. Tools today are things like 3D printers. You'll find stuff like, these kind of pieces. Sometimes they can be toys. Sometimes they can be real functional parts and pieces. This item right inside of here, our friend Scott created this. He's a Hollywood effects guy, right? So he doesn't know modeling and that kind of stuff. He wanted to be able to come in and actually make something that could become a real product. One, to solve his own problem, and two, to be able to potentially make a commercial product. So he came up with this idea. It's kind of a ball and socket joint design. You take PVC. And the unique story with something like this is he didn't know how to model, learn enough to be dangerous. We work on some piece. So inside of the space, you can come in. I'll teach you enough to be dangerous. That way you can go out and make and create anything that you want. Whether you're a young kid, going up to a seasoned adult, or that crusty engineer, you might have access to something that you didn't otherwise. Like if you want to get into robots and you've never worked with it before, you can design something like this. If you want to hack something like this kind of camera here, and you've got a cat, and you want to let your cat out and be able to track your cat with a GPS, as well as every so often take a picture and see things from a cat's perspective. You can do stuff like that and learn enough to be dangerous. So on the piece with our friend Scott, he took this design over here, and now he's got this ball and socket joint design. He can put it together in minutes. So he's really good at special effects, being able to wrap skin or this body kind of around different shapes and forms. So one of the things about his piece is he was able to kind of lay all these pieces out in 2 minutes and put it together. He showed me what is the importance of something like this. The first time I met him, he had this crazy, gnarly looking bear trap. It looks like a 200-year-old bear trap that's caught, thousands of grizzly bears. And I'm kind of afraid to go over here and touch it. He comes over, picks it up, it's silicone rubber, and throws it over his shoulder. That's how good he is at that. But having this skin, he put it together, and now he goes over and he puts his arms underneath. It's this little structure about this tall, picks it up, and it looks like a little child. And he's got these offset joints, just like your hip joints in your own pieces, so it moves and flows. Whether he makes an 8-foot-tall dinosaur or a 2-foot-tall child, he picks it up, and the arm drops. Like, you can read emotion just by holding this piece. And this is just PVC. He hasn't even skinned it yet. Something like that, where he can take that little piece there, where he puts it over his shoulder, and you can see and read that emotion of a child on your shoulder, the way the arm falls or the leg falls when he carries that. No product like that exists. He's got a potential, one, to solve something he needs, right? He's worked on Iron Man and other movies. You'll see this in future movies as well. But two, he's going to make this piece available for other folks to be able to work with. Tons more stories like that. Some people come into the space and use it like it's your own garage. There's everything from laser cutters, 3D printers, CNC machines, giant CNC machines, hand tools, and all kinds of stuff in between to be able to come in, make, and create. And so that was kind of the idea of why and where the 757 Makerspace got started. And I think that piece is pretty important. In terms of what I'm looking for, I don't need your money. We've got members. I'm looking for awareness and people that want to come in and make something awesome. And that's my time.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Right here, down in front, Eric.
I got a question. I'm part of a STEAM and a STEM program for children, actually, in Virginia Beach. Could we make that like a field trip for them to come? And is there, a way to set up an appointment for them to come and that kind of thing, and have a day just to have fun?
Absolutely. We can do a couple different ways. You can come in and just take a tour. You can come in and we can do hands-on activities. We've already got a couple of structured programs. We've done it with 3 school systems already.
Okay.
And we've got several summer school programs that we're doing. We're also partnering with companies like CBA over in Norfolk, Virginia Beach kind of area. So we're working with a bunch more. We love to work like Chesapeake Bay Academy. We work with the Portsmouth School System. I love to work with yours as well.
Awesome.
And when I say I'm not looking for your money, I'm looking for your membership. So we operate like a gym membership. I say it's a gym membership for your brain. You pay a small fee. It's about $100 to $125 a month to be able to come in and get access to all kinds of stuff. Yes?
Is that an individual membership or family membership?
We got both.
Okay.
And if you've got a small budget and you're not sure kind of how this works, we got this thing called a Maker's Dozen, and that's what Kevin started with. We make our own currency. I call them Makerspace day passes. So they're wooden tokens. We cut them on the laser. They've got our little logos and stuff etched inside of here. 12-day pass is $100. If you've got kids and you join a full membership, their classes on the weekends are completely free. We call it Makerspace Cadets. There's nothing's funnier than calling kids Space Cadets
Yes.
and teaching learning at the same time. So that's every Saturday at 10 a.m. And the cost, I try to keep as low as possible. If you're not a member, still want your kid or friends to be able to come to that, it's $10 a child. If you're interested yourself and you think, hey, why is all this for the kids or for teenagers, we also have this thing called All Stars, which is at 12 o'clock every Saturday. It's $20, and you can come in. It's free for members, of course, with that. And it's kind of the same topic, but a lot more. Last week, we learned how to do steam bending with kids and with adults. Anybody know what steam bending is? If you've ever seen wood, you put wood into this little container, it steams it, you pull it out, and it looks like a spaghetti noodle. You can tie it to a knot. So if you've ever seen artwork with wood, that's how you do it. So we set this up. The kids did it, the adults did it, we made all kinds of crazy stuff. And we operate on 2 to 3 week cycles of learning. So this next week, we'll do another session as well. Yes?
What is the strategic plan for 757 Makerspace over the next 3 years?
Over the next, how many years?
3 years?
So over the next 3 years, so phase 1 is we're in a 6,500 square foot facility. So phase 2 is punching as we get more members and more people that support this. We'll be punching into another 4,000 square feet, and by that 3rd year, we should be into a much larger facility that will let us expand more. It is also called 757 Makerspace because I'm looking to expand beyond just one single location, and every city is going to be a little bit different. So we've got a couple of other things that are a little bit early right now that we think are pretty promising. Yes.
Are you just affiliated with yourself, or I know there's like another company that does it in like San Francisco and areas like that?
Yeah, there's Makerspaces, Hackerspaces, Crash Pads, Crash Spots. There's names like this, co-working spaces that all function in lots of similar ways. So the model that we follow is we're a benefit corporation as well, so we're called a B Corp. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, it kind of sits between a for-profit and non-profit. There's no tax breaks or incentives inside of here. The books are open, you can see this, but we believe in a social purpose. And our piece is being able to go out and teach people to design prototype. So we can learn how manufacturing works. You can take any idea that you have, just like there's 10 ideas that came up this morning within the past 30 minutes. You can come here and take that first step to be able to make it. One thing that we've done is we had a school bus driver that for 12 years she drove a school bus. She's still driving a school bus, just for the sake of the story. She's had this idea in her head. She's never been able to get it out. When she has the time, she doesn't have the money. When she has the money, she doesn't have the time. And she wanted to create this loom. For anybody that's ever been by the space, we've got this early prototype version of a loom. And I don't know all the loom terms, so bear with me for this part. But if you know what they are, just speak up. So she's got this loom. It's about this big. And if you look at it, you think, oh, hey, a cheap loom, how did that happen? She's not trying to solve and create a cheap loom. She's solving a dexterity issue for people that might have some kind of a handicap where the top, I'll just say it's spaced out every 1/8 of an inch on the top, and on the bottom they're spaced out every 1/4 of an inch. I don't know what you call that, but she's got this idea where if you have a visual impairment, you can just feel across here and know, all right, this is the 1/8, I rotate it, now I've got a 1/4, and you can do your looming out of here. And for people who have dexterity issue, she's got this brake release on the right-hand side that all you have to do is just touch with a little bit of pressure, and it releases the mat that you've just woven, and now you can put that out. So within 2 days, she came in, we looked at that idea, taught her enough to be dangerous, she learned how to solder, how to work with metal, over these other tools, and she had a working prototype. That next week, she went out and got business cards, she pitched her pieces, she's now on her 3rd prototype. She's still driving a school bus, but she's taken that first step, instead of seeing that discarded pick over to the side, 14 years later going, I had that idea, see, look. Nobody gets credit for having it drawn in a notebook if you don't take that first step to do it. So she learned enough to be dangerous.
I
So
want to piggyback off of these 2 questions real quick. So
Sure.
you do see yourself having locations in other cities in Hampton Roads in the future? In like a couple of years maybe?
I see that we could have the possibility of being able to do that.
Yeah, and there aren't really any sort of corporate franchise models around the country for makerspaces.
The closest one would be a place called Tech Shop. The closest that we got open last year up in Arlington, Virginia. And so they come in, they take a couple $1 million from the local economy, the cities pay some money to be able to do that, to be able to get that piece going. They also take ARPA money to be able to launch those. So the last 3 that they've launched, they used a combination of cities had to raise $3 to $5 million and go back to those.
That's kind of like the Code for America model. So it's really not, there aren't really any businesses that are doing it.
They're the biggest ones that have done anything like
And
that.
that's like a government supported. Okay.
Yeah, and just for the record, I taken no outside money. All this was bootstrapped and funded. When we went through Start Norfolk, just as an interesting piece, if you're in a school system or you've got an idea, if all you have is $5, use that $5. Don't let somebody tell you got to raise $50 million to be able to create something. That's complete BS. So I'll stand behind that very firmly and say that we pitched at Start Norfolk. We made it through to the final rounds. We didn't win. We didn't get any money. But we showed that we had a value, we had a team, and we had people that were interested. Before it was over, we had sold 2 memberships without even opening yet. during that weekend, we secured a facility, started making tools, getting everything lined up for that. Immediately after that, we didn't win. That Monday, we took that space, and it took myself and one other person 5 days to be able to clean it, just to be able to walk in there. That's how nasty it was. We get this big, giant warehouse, and I say it's in the heart of Ghent, right? So if you're there, plenty of parking, all that stuff's nearby. And we started just with every single tool that I had in my house in my workshop. So when something broke, and things did break in my house, I didn't have a single screwdriver or a single tool because they were all at the Makerspace. And since then, we operate under an agile development model. Every 2 weeks, the space gets better and better. So we got a set list of things that we try to accomplish in that 2-week, sprint that we're pushing. So we have this thing monthly called the Open Build Night. The first Friday of every month. It's kind of like our open house. It runs from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock. And we just invite everybody to come down. You got something you're working on? Bring it. You got something that you want to share and show? Bring it. You just want to meet other people? Come on by. And with that, we found that people come in, even if they're not members, they can see change. We've gone through 2 design sprints during that session, and they come back and they can see noticeable change month after month after month. So if all you've got is this ratty looking, nasty spot, you can make that thing better over time. It doesn't have to be a turnkey research facility level grade to be able to get there.
Yeah, so we'll start in the back and work our way forward.
2 questions. Do you have materials available for sale for vendors who wanted to develop various prototypes? How does that part work? I understand you have the tools, but what's available?
Yeah, so you pay for your own consumables. One, I'd go broke if you just had on any whim, you decided any material you wanted to use, right? Like, there has to be a limit. So I provide the hardware, you provide your own consumables, whatever they are. Now, the way things work when people come in with an idea, we sit down and say, here's what you want, let's understand that. So just like yesterday, I had a woman that, her name is Jan. She went to ODU, TCC, and a couple of other spots, and she ended up at the Makerspace because she's got this idea. She's already filed a patent several years ago, but she's never made a physical prototype to actually go through with this. And now she's ready to do that. She got inspired by an entrepreneurial session that was happening over at ODU, and the professor said, she casually mentioned that she had a patent. The professor goes, well, why haven't you done anything with it? And she got fired up immediately, right? So she went everywhere she could, to the library to find 3D printers, and she ended up here. We sat down and said, all right, here's what you're trying to accomplish. We read through her prototype piece, and with what she's doing, it's accomplishable. Just to get to a prototype, to be able to show this and work with it, to get to that stage. And that's usually where we take people to, is up to the prototype stage. So we looked at what she's going to need materials, and I try to give people as much knowledge as possible in 3 different categories. Bare bones, no budget, I'm barely scraping by, here's how you do it. I've got a little bit of money, and if there's no limit and you've got endless buckets of money, here's the master option we can do. We figure out where you're at inside of here, and then we make a plan to move forward. Even if she doesn't do it right now, she's at least taken the first step. She's gone through and figured out what it's really going to take to be able to do it when she can, and she can start budgeting for that. She's got a couple of options. So we think we're somewhere between option 1 and option 2 to be able to do that.
And the second question was, what do you consider a deficiency of 757 Makerspace right now? Something that you're trying to...
A deficiency. Next week will be better. That's probably the easiest way. Deficiency, more people, the more money, more revenue we have, the more we can do. So I like having money. It allows us to be able to do a lot more things with money.
Membership. So
Yeah,
membership. All right, so I think we had Aaron and Erica. Do we have other questions? Go ahead.
I was curious as to if you were trying to come in and print something on a 3D printer or a CNC machine, would you have people able to guide you through that process or help you if you don't have a clear idea about 3D programming?
Yeah, so one is we can do stuff, I'll do a lot of things for money. So if you need some help with some design pieces, we can do that. What I would prefer to do is to teach you enough to be dangerous, that way now you're comfortable doing that. That then reduces the limitation of, the couple people and staff that we have that are slowly growing. If I can take you, and Kevin, take Bob and some other people here, and now all of a sudden we can all kind of learn from this stuff. Now we've also got a support network of people to be able to say, hey, have you ever done anything like this? Sometimes you get stuck. Like at CNC, most people, work with like 2D paths. What happens when you want to do this crazy 3D relief carving? Well, there's 2 people that are specialists in this, and my job is to be able to connect everybody. So in your situation, you'd come in, you would pay for a class. You'd pay probably for the laser cutter or the 3D printer or the CNC machines. We look at your project, figure out really what is it that you need, and then we teach you enough to be dangerous with that. And then during our training class, we would learn on your project. So we keep our classes small to be able to do stuff like that. There's also like welding machines, so if you want to weld your bikes or other things together. We just got a new TIG machine yesterday. And this week, we've got this giant 5x10 CNC that shows up. I'm so excited by this part because with this, you can lay a sheet of anything down, have it cut your furniture, and you go grab a cup of coffee. That's pretty darn awesome. So, hope that answered your question.
Yep, and then here, and then Erica, and then.
There's been a lot on these types of places in life, and you see people that run their companies from them, and then some of them will expand or they'll actually on a contract basis build stuff for them. But lately, seeing more companies seeing the good ideas coming from, and then, for instance, Ford is in combining one where their members or their engineers get an actual membership with it. Have you considered anything of that for around here?
It's certainly an option. That's not where we're at today. We're not positioned, staffed, or set up to be able to do that just yet.
Okay.
My question is, if someone produce or makes something and it could be something of value later, how do they get that patent? Do they get that patent through you or?
No. Whoa, yeah. I don't want your patent. My job is to help facilitate and make you successful. That's it. If I can teach you how to design, create, prototype, and get to that stage to be able to launch, my work's done. Because one, I get success along the way. Two, the area gets success because now you've launched another company that now gives employment to whether it's military or students, other people, as well as yourself. That's a huge
I
barrier.
want to follow up what's going on in the area, but chances are you're going to meet somebody who's been through the process who can help you.
Yeah, and I'll introduce you to patent attorneys if you need that kind of stuff. There's just a couple that we work with, but I try to stay away from, I don't want a piece of your company. I don't want a patent or own anything to that. Not saying there's not a great business idea, but you're likely to maybe meet up with Nisha or other people that have been here as a member, and you might find something that you want to work together with.
Do the 1004 attorneys do patent work, IP work?
We have something back there.
Okay.
Yeah, and Zach's a great partner for stuff like that as well. If you haven't heard of the 1004 program, look at that piece. It's a fantastic setup. Lots of things.
One of the things that is kind of discounted accounting, legal. Yes, sir. What was your question?
I can see the potential for this to be very popular. What's your plan for managing your members' time? Because you use the gym as a parallel. You've got the gym membership where the one guy always wants to go on the bench press. I mean, how do you distribute your time among your members?
Oh, that's-
each group?
I don't. It's easy peasy. So we work with, we're staffed Tuesday through Saturday, 10 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. That's core hours where if somebody drops by, there's somebody that's there for that. Members get 24/7 access and a key. So you get trained in the different areas that you're going to work with. If you want to work with a welder and you haven't been trained, don't use it. That's that simple.
Is there a calendar? Like, so if the bandsaw is taken on Tuesday at 6?
Yeah, so on the more popular tools, which are things like the laser cutters, the CNC machines, and I think the welder's just starting to get there. Like the welding department is kind of growing. It's probably our weakest section, but it's starting to grow. You reserve different units and increments of time of 2 hours. In terms of like the wood shop area, so like wood shop is pretty common. We've got duplicates of every tool. So there's 2 band saws, there's 2 drill presses, there's 2 table saws, all that stuff. So and there's multiple ways to work with wood. So chances are if you can't use it, a person's only going to use one of these tools for a few minutes, and then another piece. If they're using the table saw, you just grab the other table saw. And by the way, table saws are the most dangerous tool in the entire of all the cool stuff we have.
And that was my
that is
next
the most dangerous tool. So that is the one that
Yeah.
we sit here, we learn about training, safety. There's 3 things we look at: safety for you, safety for the people around you, and safety for the shop and the tools, and also for the environment. Like those are the steps that are most important.
And my last question, of course, have you got some space in the back where I can put my cot and a little refrigerator?
It's pretty close. We've got a great kitchen, brewing equipment inside of here.
Okay.
So yeah, you could live there.
All right, I'm moving in on Wednesday.
Did I see? Is that all for questions, or did you? Okay.
Just about the discussion about patent insurance, have you considered having strategic partnerships with different business service providers so that it is readily available right there? And then that also helps leverage exposure for what it is that you're trying to do, because as they come across clients who have certain needs, they can recommend them to you.
Yeah, that's a fantastic thing. So one of the programs that I try to do is once a week I go out to a local business and if someone hasn't here, just come up to me later, tell me someplace I should go, that they're established, they do awesome stuff, but nobody knows about them. I love to find them to be able to work with them. And immediately after meeting them, I send them some small job, even if it's out of my own pocket. So there's a great company in Norfolk called Metal Concepts. They've been around for 60 years. If you need anything welded, water jetted out. I don't have a water jet, and I went there to find out about the water jet. He's a huge fan of the Makerspace, and I'm a huge fan of his business. We got a partnership right out there. So I send him stuff every week, people his way, and in turn he sends it back. So I try to go out and meet more people. So the patent attorney hasn't really come up with the exception of 2 or 3 times. You could get stuck in patent attorney hell very easily. And I would say get your prototype first, make sure your idea works outside of here, and then it's something you want to pursue as opposed to spending your money on a patent. You can always file a provisional patent or other ways around that. But the most important piece is get that idea out of your head and make it physical.
So, but like, to piggyback off that, would like steel be? I guess they make like chainsaws and stuff like that. I'm trying to think, like, is there a big, huge equipment manufacturer around here? You can set up a scholarship program, like, be a great. Is that where you were headed with strategic partners, right?
Right, because a lot of times people will have, say, the technical ambition and knowledge and expertise, but running a business or taking your idea, turning it into a business, there's so much more.
Yeah. So for that, 1004.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's just because he's wearing that awesome Wales t-shirt.
We have about 4 minutes left. Is that all for questions?
So what's 1004? I don't know what it is.
Okay. What's 1004? Why don't we ask the man himself? I'll be happy to tell you, right? So it's a gym membership for entrepreneurs, right? And the name comes from, we want to create 1,004 person companies in the area over some period of time.
We have 18 months left.
Within the next 18 months, we want to have launched 1,000 4-person companies, and we were up to like what 350 in last year, something like that. That's what the name is for. It's a program. It's about $290. It's $300 a year. There's weekly formatted sessions, workshops, access to experts, access to accounting, legal. What else?
It's the business side to 7x7 Makerspace. So you go there to prototype all those things, but then you need to run the business side of things and everything else. That's what 1004 has been created for. So we meet every Tuesday for 1 hour. It's an expert workshop. A lot of people talk about mentorship and coaching and things like that, and those things are great. But we give you industry experts on a specific topic every week for from 12 to 1. It's streamed and recorded. It's $30 a month for our members. We have a ton of discounted rates through all of our events and through like lawyers. So like we have a partner law firm that instead of paying $600 a month, you get it, or $600 an hour, you get it for about $200 an hour. And so we're at, I think, 45 companies right now out of the 1,000. The idea is to get it done to start and grow 1,004 employee companies by the end of next year. So by the end of 2016, we're growing about 2 companies a week. We grew 5 companies last week. We're going to hit that number no matter what. And so we're basically creating the startup network in our community.
So it's a program within Hatch. So Hatch doing State of Startup, Start Norfolk. This is a program for.
So Zach, what law firms and accountants do you partner with?
Pierce McCoy is that law firm for that. Hoffman and Knowles is another good one. They won't give you that rate. Don't film that.
Accounting was.
So what?
Pierce McCoy is your 1004
Yeah,
partner.
for that rate, yes.
Right.
A ton of accountants in the area. So,
Is that just?
we also vetted those resources too, so I think that's a
no,
big
it's
piece
anybody
of the whole
who's a
Yeah, I
situation.
know, David.
Yeah.
So you're not profiting.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, so let me kind of close and wrap it a little bit. In terms of people that come in, there's groups that come in, like there's a tactical equipment provider out of Virginia Beach that they've launched here recently. They come to the Makerspace and use the laser to cut out their patterns, right? Something like that. If you use scissors, you're going to get frays in their equipment. They use our laser to be able to cut pieces out. It's centered, it's nice, and they're winning government contracts on it. They're doing really well. Other people come in and might just want to create a piece of jewelry, something for yourself, something you can sell. This wooden bracelet, someone created just yesterday, right? So if I put that piece on, I've got an interesting piece of jewelry to wear. It might be that you've got a boat. Our friend Rennie came in one day. He's got a 1970s trawler. It's a $100,000 boat, right? So he's riding this thing, out in the bay, and he loses all the steering on this $100,000 boat. He's driving it around with a $10 seaplane. So for the next week, he's driving this $100,000 boat around because in 1970, the manufacturer who created this was doing very well. They're no longer in business. This piece can't be made or created by them, or you can't order it. So it's 3D printed part. Took a little bit of design, just a few minutes to be able to work on that. And now he's got a bag of these. If it ever happens again, he can slide it right in. And then on the other side, you got people like our friend Matt. So Matt created this surfboard wax gun. You can't see it. It's got a real interesting design. You're welcome to come up here and look at this stuff. But it's got a sugar skull design in here. A wax gun, you can scrape through your wax, flip it over, you can rake across there. What's unique about this part is he's a student of ODU. He's been using the 3D printer here to be able to create these. It takes about, every 30 minutes you can pump out a new one. He's got different designs, turtle in a half shell, and other interesting things. He's in 4 different surf shops. He's selling online. His biggest limitation is what happens when he gets that order for 100 of these or 1,000 of these. Well, if you take another little friend that owns a local gym, he prototyped 50 versions of this piece to be able to get for strength band training. He went immediately from when he got this exactly right, he went and got these plastic injection molders. He had $25,000 to put into plastic injection molders. Matt doesn't have $25,000. He's scrambling to be able to pay tuition and everything he can. But what happens is you can use low budget things to be able to get there. This piece of polystyrene, you get a small vacuum former. This piece is cheap. You slide it to the vacuum former, it heats it up. You put your part underneath there. If I wanted to make a gear, for example this, heats up, pull it down, I got an exact copy. So we taught him to be able to use this, lay a bunch of these out. It takes, every minute he can pop one of these, and he lays them all out. And then you take liquid plastic, mix it up, pour it into all of these. 10 minutes later, you pop them all out. You've got an exact duplicate of that piece. So he can make that order of 100 without spending $25,000. He's evaluating and testing. Is there a market for him to be able to do this? He's still a student. Now he's got options. And of course, the space gives options to everybody in between. From young kids who take your idea, going up to people in second careers, or who just have that idea in your head for 12 years that you want to get out. So that's my pitch.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, we're at time.